Good morning, guys. Welcome to this Wednesday, July 30th. I hope you're ready for a busy Wednesday. I'd excuse my voice, it's crackling a bit. I have getting a cold or something. Anyway, so excuse my voice. The Today is going to be a busy day. We got a lot of stuff on tap. News-wise, we're starting off with that ADP report at 8:15. Well, actually, we got the mortgage apps at 7 as well. And they were just a little tad to the downside. They came out already. Tad to the downside, not a big reaction whatsoever to that. ADP coming out at 8:15. Usually a precursor to the employment situation, but I don't think they've been that well correlated. But it gives you a number to consider before the number comes out on Friday. At 8:30, we get the GDP number and then Treasury refunding, 3-year, 10-year, 30-year announcements. But the Treasury refunding at 8:30 could be interesting. I mean, I think a lot of people pointed to that as a pretty key thing as to what the Treasury is going to do to redo the debt, which is coming due this year. 10 o'clock, we get pending home sales. 10:30, an old report. And then, of course, we fed the Fed announcement at 2 with the presser at 2:30. So that's going to be the big thing for the day, the Fed announcement and the interest rates. If we'll see if the chances are it's going to stay the same. If they stay the same, I think the market just kind of chugs along. If they for some reason drop it, it would be kind of contrary to what he's been talking about, the signaling. Then I think the market just keeps going with a little bit more pep in its step, if you want to know what I mean. So ADP report 8:15. We had GDP and Treasury refunding at 8:30. 10 o'clock we get pending home sales. 10:30 we get an oil report. Fed announcement at 2, and that's going to be the big thing for the day. But a lot of stuff going on there. After the close, we get earnings. I believe it is Meta and there was one more. There's two big techs that reporting after the close, and then we have two more tomorrow. And so we have action happening after the news as well. So going into today's trading, a bunch of things on tap, and the market is still kind of holding on to their gains. Looks like they are still trying to extend to the upside. We did not extend yesterday, so we did not extend the range. So we had to, technically this move out of the middle now could be over. We could be finding ourselves building value around about 6,400 here. So yesterday's little selling was not a big sell-off. It's just backing off that upper edge. And even if it looks pretty gnarly on the chart, it's just pretty much technically backing off that upper edge. And at this point, I would just say still range-bound buying weakness. But I would be caution something here, because if this is part of stage 2, we may see more weakness today as they try to find a spot to cut off the selling. Either that is going to be a potential holding day, waiting for the announcement, the Fed announcement. After the Fed announcement, anything can happen. So it does. We could set on a big sell-off going into August. We could start off. We can keep this rally going, but depending on what Powell says in that press conference, we have the opportunity for some real market action. And then, of course, after that, we get tech earnings, which is going to be an added bonus to the whole thing. So I would start off range bound primarily. I would kind of look for the for weakness to see if this move yesterday is part of cutting off the cutting off the buying and then finding that selling spot on the other side of the distribution. That would be stage 2. And if they start seeing some more weakness, I will still be looking to buy down to that 63.85 level, as I said yesterday. Below that 85s, I would be looking for a retracement of this area, this low volume area back down here to the 63.50s. So I think we can easily go that far down if they start retracing, but chances are we may be more or less going sideways, volatile, but not necessarily directional until we see a Fed announcement. But it doesn't need to happen like that at all. The market is always going to surprise you with what it's going to do. So let's just check the news, make sure they're aware of what news comes out, and be aware, definitely Fed announcement at 2, and tech earnings after they close, and we have that treasury refunding as well at 8:30. So yeah, that is what the reaction is going to be on that. But starting off a fairly range bound, I would look for early weakness to get started. Still looking to buy against the 6400s, 63.95, 63.85. These three support areas for rotations back up. I would look to sell against the 64.22s, 22 to 25s, 22, 64.30 to 35s, 64.40s for rotations and back and down. Above the 64.40s, I think we are maybe heading higher again. Below that area, 63.85, I think we may be starting to retrace. So pretty tight range, but I think it's a decent range to work with to get started. But as I said, I would be more inclined to take short trades today than I was yesterday, because since we did not extend the highs yesterday, we backed off. So if we see some early strength, a short setup against, well, 64.15 would be pretty aggressive, but I would look for 64.20, 25, 64.35, 64.40s. I think the better shorts are going to come fairly early if they do. If we are up here testing that upper area, 64.40, I think we are pretty much in the range, trading in the range at that point. So looking for that early strength, or looking for early weakness, I should say, to retest these lows. If we start seeing a little bit of strength to get started, I would look for short setups against these two levels. Last one would be at the 64.40s for rotations back down again. And that's how we get started. So if this range could certainly be the range to trade in, it's between 63.85 and the 64.40s. And then we need a piece of news to break out of it. And it can go either way. It can go either way. So if I have it, so there's a reaction there. Looking at the bonds and the Nasdaq, bond market is not doing much. They had a nice move to the upside yesterday, and we'll see what happens here today. They're going to retrace this to the downside. Here is this upper edge, the 115s. That's that upper edge we looked for. But they're pretty much up against that upper area. So these upper resistance areas are going to be pretty good. So looking for short setups against the 1422s, the 26s, 1504, 1510s for rotations back down. If they take out this 1426, we may have another leg higher. Could be a long trade in there for rotations, for a rotation back up to that 1504. But I'm thinking short here at the 1420, 22, and the 26, 27s for rotations back down to get started. Looking to buy against the 1414s, the 1408s down to the 114s for rotations back up to get started. Below the 114s, I think we are just back down. That long bias is gone at that point. We're starting off with a slight bias to the upside to see if you can take this higher. Looking for shorts early on here against these two resistance areas, but if that comes out, we're back. We're back on the long side if that happens. Nasdaq also backing off, not extending. Well, they did extend yesterday. Sorry, they did extend. So Nasdaq is still in stage one, right? So now the Nasdaq is leading, and we have big tech earnings coming out after the close. So they're up here against the 23,600s. That was the high yesterday, and I'm just gonna fold this together. But I mean, right now you can see we are in a pretty good spot here. So we extended yesterday. We're still in stage one, and I would take that with a grain of salt. I think yesterday's little pop here, not sure exactly what that was all about, but I would look to sell a little bit more aggressively this morning than I normally would do in a stage one profile. But initially, I'm looking for early weakness to get long for rotations back up. So looking to buy against that is 460s, the 420s. I think below that 420 edge, that's that low volume area, that three little edge, a pretty obvious edge right there. So that 400 to 430 edge, if that comes out, this whole thing is going to come right back here and down in the 23,300s. So if that happens, I would look for a potential short retracement trade down into this lower range. But initially looking to buy against the 460s and the 420s. Looking to get short against the 500s, 550s up to that 580, 590 level. And maybe even the 610. These areas with a little bit more aggressive maybe than yesterday because we backed off pretty good from the highs yesterday. And since the ES is kind of in that stage two, kind of backing off, uh, we'll see what stage we are in. If we made new highs and then backing off, looking for a spot to cut off the selling, or if you're going to see another leg higher. And as I said, this is right from the get-go. With all the news we have coming out today, Fed announcement, tech earnings, uh, Treasury refunding. We have a lot of stuff going on. We also have trade deals and tariff talks going on at the same time. And we get the August deadline coming up as well. So we got a lot of different cross currents going on here. So, but at this point, I'm just starting off range bound. And the near term is going to be the Fed announcement, and the follow through on that one is going to be the biggest part of the day. But if we can get some action before that, then as well. So looking to buy against that 460, 420 is below 420, so I'm taking off that long bias or that buy. Well, I'm taking off any bias to the upside and looking for further weakness. At that point, I think the Nasdaq is following the ES and then pulling back and looking for a spot to cut off the selling. But it's kind of right there. You kind of don't quite know what Nasdaq's going to do just yet. So they're looking to buy against these two on early weakness, looking to sell strength if they start showing strength from the get-go, the 500s, 550s, 580s up to the 610s for rotations back down. ADP plus 104, okay, that's a good number. So we'll see how that tracks now then with the employment situation coming out on Friday. Oil and gold. So I rolled gold to the December expiration and gap up, so that's why it looks funny. Yeah, kind of look at the F1. So we were trading down here yesterday, below that 3340s. I mean, the December gap right up here to that upper edge, at 3380s. My expectation would be, excuse me, my expectation would be that they back off a little bit from that upper edge. But I'm not going to do much on gold today. I'm just going to watch it and see how the trading day develops there. If it starts trading higher at the 88, 89, I would probably stay on the long side on gold, see if they can retrace further to the upside. If they take out this low at 33.78 to 80, the support area, I would look maybe for a retracement trade back into value again. So this rollover is all a little bit tricky. So especially when in a gap up like that, we'll see how it's going to develop. But it is going to go higher or it's going to start backing off. So we're just going to look in, and they write that an edge as well. So it's if they start taking out the edge, stay on the long side. If they fail to take it out, look for a retracement trade down towards the 3340s. So that's the only thing I'm going to say about gold this time around. And oil, I haven't seen much on oil, but I would say demand picture of some sort. Look at that big pop we had yesterday. Did not see any headlines on that though, by the way. So I'm thinking that's just a pure straight up demand, a trade deal demand increase of some sort. Avoiding trade issues keeps demand going, maybe even grows demand for energy or oil, and maybe that's what drove this higher. But pretty good pop to the upside late in the day yesterday. So definitely news driven. Just could not find the headline for it. So. But I would start off from the long side on oil, see if they can retest this high 69.70, maybe even take it high, take it out. That would be something. That would put oil in the category of retracing back up and starting to retrace these single prints. That would not be quite what I would expect from oil. I'm looking for lower prices, I mean, given all the policy changes and everything they're doing. So this little short-term rally kind of it feels counterintuitive. So I'm not going to be super aggressive on the long side until I know better what's actually driving it. But if you want to be on the long side of this, look for early strength. I'll look to buy against the 69s and the 68.50s for rotations back up, and then watch that low at 68.50s. That comes out, I think we are retracing right back in that lower range. So that's kind of how I would play it to get started, and stay looking for any commentary on oil. See what maybe have caused that to happen. So looking to buy against that 69s and 68.50s for rotations back up. Not going to be aggressive on the short side until I can understand if this is news driven or not. If it's news driven, I don't want to be very aggressive on the short. If it's not, we could be a nice retest failure trade setting up here. So that's are the options, but you kind of have to find out whether that is news driven moves or not. If what that changes the dynamic a bit. So that's all in gold. So gold, we're kind of holding pattern on, see what's going to happen there. Oil, we're starting off with a slight bias to the upside. All right, back to the ES. Okay, so we had the EDP number come out. I mean, it looked like it came out a bit early or something. But so a pretty decent number. We'll see how that whole thing shakes out throughout the day. So ES backed off. It looks like we're looking for early weakness on the ES. Not quite the same as the Nasdaq, but so they're kind of divergent a bit. So we're looking for ES backing off and see find a spot to cut off the selling. Still looking to buy all the way down here to the 63.85. So these three support areas. And on the Nasdaq, we'll see if they are going to follow suit and start backing off, or they're going to hold those two support areas early on here today. So there you have it. So we'll wrap it there for now, guys. So good trading, and I will see you back at 11:30 for the next update. And here's watch out. It's going to be could be a roller coaster kind of a day. All right, guys, later.